Welcome back, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. This time of year, today is, I don't know what today is. It's the end of August. This time of year, the garden is starting to go to sleep. We're putting in just some of the simple fall stuff, carrots, green onions, lots of greens for salads and all that stuff. But the real heavy lifting, the stuff that makes you just have heat stroke all the time outside, that's coming to an end. And that just frees up time for having a lot more fun in the kitchen. This is something that I absolutely love to do. You see we have a mountain of eggs here. The chickens have been very gracious. If you don't happen to have chickens, fine. Go to the store, get the best eggs you can though. If it's possible for you not to get the Battery Farm miserable chickens eggs, if it's possible at all, please give that a try. There is a difference in flavor. I've actually tested it. And I choose to believe that miserable chickens lay miserable eggs. I don't know if that's true. Don't write that down. Anyhow, so today, because we've got all the eggs, we've got some free time, and it's amazing, we're going to do something special. We're going to make homemade pasta dough, two ways though. I'm going to show you how to make it by hand, because not everybody has the machinery, the room for it, or feels like it. And then I'm going to show you the same recipe again, using the food processor. So it'll be two ways to get to the same end result. And then I have something special in the next video that we're going to do with the dough from this video. Okay? So we'll get to that at the end. One more thing I wanted to share. I could not be more thankful by the wonderful support that I've been getting on my channel. It has made me, I'm not going to lie, it made me cry. Happy tears, but I just couldn't believe that many people don't mind how goofy I am, and that meant the world to me. I just wanted to thank you, and I truly do mean that. I'm gonna get back to cooking. So here's the thing. You've probably seen people doing their homemade pasta on the board, and you make, let me move my crap out of the way here for a second. They make a well, they put the flour down, they make a well in it, they put in the eggs and all that stuff. Here's the problem with that. And that's the reason I don't do it. It makes a mess. If your wall breaks, that's the wall that keeps your yolks, your eggs in from the outside with the flour, and you introduce a little bit of flour at a time, keep mixing it in until enough of the egg yolk has been brought in, and then you mix it all up. The amount of times, remember I told you, I have not a graceful bone in my body, so I have to find ways to work around that. What I've decided I do is I broke out my bowl. This bowl I got in an estate sale closer to 30 years ago, and I love it so much. This was my original bread bowl that I make dough in, not for serving bread. This also works out great as a pasta bowl dough. Pasta bowl. It's a bowl. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the flour in here. We're gonna make the well. I'm gonna move the cameras and all that stuff so you're looking down into my bowl. We're gonna do all the same things, but we're gonna have the whole thing contained in a nice wide bowl. That way, when, not if in my case, the wall breaks, I don't have eggs flying off the counter and onto the floor, which is profoundly unpleasant. So I just thought I'd offer that as a solution in case maybe you have the same problem, or you just feel like using a lovely bowl. So we're gonna do that. It's a very easy process. I'm gonna go through it with you in no time, and then we're gonna do the same exact dough in that food processor, which takes this process down to minutes. I mean, it's just boom, and then we're done. We wrap it and we rest it. The other thing we're gonna do in this video is I'm gonna, in the same theme of showing you two ways, with the dough that we make by hand in our bowl, I'm going to roll the dough out by hand. It's a bit of a chore, but what if you don't have a pasta machine? Should you not be able to have amazing homemade pasta? That doesn't seem fair. Plus, I have this really amazing Italian pin that I got from Italy a long time ago, and I didn't necessarily tell my spouse when I got it. It's been here a long time now, so he's been seeing it, so he can't claim like, where'd that come from? It's been here a long time. I sneak this stuff in because I love them so much. I can't help myself. They're my treasures, and I use them. Okay? So we're gonna roll it out using a pin. It doesn't have to be a fancy Italian pin. I'm just excited about it. It could just be any rolling pin, and you roll it out as thinly as you can, and then I'm gonna show you some amazing things you do with your rolled out pasta. With the other dough that we're making with the machine, we're gonna do the same thing with the machine. We're gonna roll it out with a pasta machine. Yes, I have one. In case you don't know this about me, I love kitchen equipment. It brings me joy. Antique kitchen equipment makes me even happier. But, you know, I'm not the girl that wants to read the fashion magazines, you could probably tell, or any of that stuff. The way to my heart is through farm equipment and kitchen equipment. It brings me great, great joy. That being said, so that's where we're going to go to the end of this video. We're going to roll out our pasta 2 ways. And then I'm so excited because what we're going to do in Wednesday's video is something, you know, I'm sure you've probably already seen people show you how to make the pasta and cut it into strips to make noodles, fettuccine, whatever. Yes, that works beautifully. You can't get better. However, there's enough videos showing people how to do that, and I can show you a couple of swipes at it so I can show you what I mean. We're going to keep them as sheets, as pasta sheets, because in the video that's coming up right behind this one, we're going to make homemade ravioli and homemade cannelloni. And the best part of that is you can change your fillings. You can, if you don't like meat, you can fill them with cheese. In our case, we're going to do homemade sausage. But I mean, you can do all these different varieties, amazing different fillings, change them all the time once you know how to do it. And the even better part than that is that it freezes beautifully. So this is another opportunity to make amazing food that we can properly seal, properly package, properly label, and then we have it in our freezer that we're going to treat like a pantry, because that's how we do it. Our fridge is not just some place that keeps our orange juice cold. That's our pantry. So's our freezer, and then so's our actual pantry. That's how we have to think of it. That way we can have a lot more fun. It doesn't have to be the same old stuff in there. And we're not going to put the same old stuff in there. We're going to have fun. Okay? So I'm going to move all the cameras and do all the things, and I'll stop being blinded by that light, and we'll be right back. Okay. Yes, what you see in the background is me standing on a stepladder because I'm trying to use this ridiculous overhead rig and be able to make sure I'm getting what I need in the shop. This is what I do for you guys. All right, this is under this bowl is a scale. Let me see. It's very, very important. This is done by weight. And again, like I told you before, when we're working in a kitchen and we're working to do first-class food, we have to work in grams. So this particular recipe that I'm using calls for 456 grams. And that's enough, in theory, to serve 4 to 6 people. Unless they're big eaters. But I mean, you decide what you need. This recipe can be scaled up. And it can be cut in half. 456, we're at 406. We're almost there. This flour is 00 flour. It is from Italy. And what makes it special is the way that it's ground. It's ground very, very finely. It's also what's used commonly in pizza. Okay. I'm going to hit the pause button just so I can climb down. So what we talked about before, we've got our lights, we're good. We've got everything we need. The ingredients we need are salt. I use that pink fine salt that I told you about that I love. It's got the minerals in it. It makes me happy. We need only about a half a teaspoon of that. This is a quarter. We'll just do this twice. So 1, 2. I'm going to put just a tiny bit more there. I like flavor. Okay, now we're just going to stir this up because we want to make sure that salt is well distributed. There we go. Make sure we're in. We're in. Okay, now take your measuring cup and just start to make a well. Now, if you were doing this just on your board, you'd be doing it the same way. Okay? There would just be nothing on the sides. It would be flat. And I just find that to be, I don't know, like the varsity Olympics. It's not for me. And then our recipe calls for 6 large eggs. So we have a bowl where we put our shells. There's a whole different thing. We save our shells because we dehydrate them and we turn them into powder and they go back into our garden. You may be thinking, I've seen people do this before and they always crack the eggs into the hole. I don't. I crack the eggs into a measuring cup and I beat the eggs. I don't want to have any reason to fail. So I find if I do it this way, it's much easier to control. I'm not trying to chase around egg whites and egg yolks going in two different directions. I'm not interested in doing that. Now, our recipe also calls for just a little splash of olive oil. This is the olive oil we're using today. And I'm just going to right into my, that was it. Stir it in. And pour this whole thing right into the well. Now with that same fork, we start pulling from the sides and we mix. And a little bit at a time, what you can't see is underneath. Do you see how it's moving? That's me with the fork pulling more in, and that's how I'm incorporating more flour into my well. Then I'll come around, scoop, and bring in some more. Now, if we were doing this just on the flat surface, I'll do it on purpose. This, for some reason, breaks down. All of these eggs would fly out that way. That's happened to me more times than I can count, and I didn't have any fun. So we'll close that back up again. And the last time I had to clean that up, I said, that is the last time I'm ever cleaning that up. Now, I'm not going to make you sit here and watch this for the entire time. Maybe if I do, and then I put it on fast forward. I apologize. I'm not one of those creators who's really good at this yet, and I still think out loud. I'm sorry. But what if you want to see it? What if I just speed it up? Okay, you know what? That's what I'll do. I'll speed it up. So you scrape this off, because now it's becoming much harder to do with the fork. Waste not, want not. I'm getting right in there. So we change over to our bowl scraper. This side is for cutting. This side is for scraping the bottom of a bowl and actually hitting the bottom of the curve. Okay? So I flip it over and I just start, bring it in, turn, cross it over. Do you see? Now at some point we'll have to use our hands, but why not use the bowl for as long as possible to work in our favor? The reason I'm going like this is because every time I do that, I expose a little more wet flour. So then when I drop some in, it goes right into the wet flour. That's the reason I'm doing that. Now it's mostly incorporated, so we're going to start to scrape from the bottom, come over the top. Scrape from the bottom, okay? We're almost to the point where I'm going to put down my bowl scraper. Listen, apparently English is my second language today. I apologize. I don't know what's going on with me. Okay, so now we're going to, remember, waste is not what I don't go for waste. Work too hard for this stuff. Okay, now we're going to pick it up. Am I in the frame? And with the heel of our hand, we're going to start to work this in. Pick it up, push forward. This is the part that we're putting the pressure down, moving forward. And we just fold, turn the bowl. See, if we were on the board, we couldn't turn the bowl. What are you going to do, turn the whole table? Get in here. No child left behind. Now we're going to use our scraper because we have a few little stragglers. And this recipe has been tested and it is measured exactly. Nobody stays behind. If you leave any behind, they'll be sad and feel like they didn't make it, like Phoebe's Christmas tree on that episode of Friends. You know, the one where Joey went and adopted all the dead Christmas trees? Okay, so now we're almost there. We've almost got everybody. So when you have just a little bit that's being fussy, you pick it up from the bottom and move it to the top, relieving it of its choice. Okay, and now we can just really get in here. Whoops, I'm sorry. Bowl slid. And you're going to keep kneading this until it's smooth. That will take about 10 minutes. I'm going to turn this off so you don't have to endure that, and we'll be right back. And we're back just for a moment so I can show you, we've reached the point, I'm adjusting the camera, sorry. We've reached the point where there is nothing running, and now we can work on the board with no mess. No need to add any additional flour to the board. If by chance we stick, we use this, okay? So we're just gonna do it just like this. 10 minutes, okay? So you see what we have here? This has been 10 minutes. It's probably been actually 11 because I was fiddling with the camera. But we're definitely completely incorporated. We have activated the gluten. It is bouncing back. If you tried to roll this out right now, it would bounce back at you like a rubber band. It is impossible. So how do we resolve that? Well, the resolution to that is very simply, we wrap it with plastic wrap, or if you have those those reusable plastic bags, which I have and I love, but to be perfectly honest with you, I don't remember where I put them. So I'm going to wrap it in plastic wrap. You rest your dough, and it has to rest for at least 90 minutes. That makes all the difference because when we go to roll this out, it will be much easier to do. So, here we go. Just wrap our little friend up. Nice and tight, no air. We want absolutely zero air getting into here, okay? Room temperature, 90 minutes. Now, while that's going, I'm gonna reset up and we're gonna make the one that goes in the machine. Be right back. Okay, now it's going. Now remember, it's important that we do this thing by weight again. So I'm just gonna use the same bowl because why not? Zoom out a little bit so you can see. 456, we're doing the same recipe. 456 grams of 00 flour. Have to open my next package. Here we go. There we go. Now we're going to add our salt. Okay. Now we're going to break open our 6 eggs. But first, you know what we'll do? Because we're going into the machine. So we're going to stir this up, and I'm going to transfer it into the bowl of the food processor. And then I'm going to add the eggs, but I'm going to bring you over to the food processor so that you can see the process. The process of the food processor. Oh boy, puns. All right, I'll be right back. One, two, three. And 6. Okay. And just our little splash of olive oil. And then I'll bring you on over to the food processor. Okay, now we're over at our machine. I put the flour, the salt in here, and I just turned it on real quick to make sure we've got it evenly dispersed. As you saw, we did in our eggs, we added that little splash of olive oil. I was just making sure nobody was left behind. You can choose to go through the little lid up top. I hate that. It just makes it really dirty. It's hard to clean. I don't like it. So what I do is I just go ahead and pour it through. Okay? I just find it easier. Okay? We put the lid back on and go. When it gathers all the way around the blade as one cohesive ball of dough, we're done. You can actually hear it change. I think you can hear that. Okay, we're done with the food processor. Now there is one thing that is noticeable in both doughs. This one's been resting about 15 minutes, I guess. And this one is fresh. You look at the difference in color. Okay, that's one. Number two, the one that we did in the machine already feels silkier. I did this one by hand and I worked my little buns off and I did as well as I could. And it's really well kneaded, but it's not as well kneaded as this. That's just, you know, part of the game. If you use a machine, it'll do a better job. Enough to make a difference that if you don't have the machine and you still want to make pasta, can you not do it? Of course not. This is great. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up, 90 minutes, and then we're going to sheet it up. So our dough is rested, and now we're preparing for rolling out our sheets. Now, before you start rolling out your sheets, you have to think, well, where are they going to go once I've rolled them out? That's what you have to work on first. So this is just a regular sheet pan, and on here I have parchment, and what's dusted on here is semolina flour. Why semolina flour? Because it will keep the pasta sheets from sticking without absorbing into the dough, drying it out. Very important. Okay? So now we're going to roll out the dough we did from scratch by hand. So I'm going to work up a sweat, and the hot flash queen is about to show you what a hot flash really looks like. But we're going to do it. Welcome back, my friends. Okay, so here we are. Our dough is rested. We're feeling festive. All right, truthfully, I was at IKEA for a whole different thing. They have these candles. I couldn't help myself. I love them and it smells amazing. Is it probably non-toxic? Probably not. Should I be burning it? Probably not. There you go. Okay, this is the dough that we made by hand. This is the dough that we did by machine. I wanted to make sure I label them so that there are no mistakes made and we can continue forward with our test and make sure that everything is just the way we want it. What I have here is semolina flour. Semolina is made from durum wheat, okay? Why am I using this instead of regular flour? This will not absorb into our dough. This will allow our dough to stretch and move around on our board without absorbing in and drying our dough out. That's why. So I'll put it here. Okay. Now, wanted to show you a few things. This is a standard pin. I love this pin. I've had this since before I was married. My mother-in-law gave it to me. I love her. I have the best mother-in-law in the world. If you are blessed to have a mother-in-law like mine, I'm telling you, I mean, you have to agree with me. It's a blessing. I was married once before, and I'm very blessed with the mother-in-law that I have. That's all I have to say about that. We've been married 25 years. We just had our 25th year anniversary on August 11th, and it's been, I'm grateful, and I mean that. Okay. This is the pin I was telling you about that I got from Italy. I've never been to Italy. This has been to Italy. I've not. This pin is used specifically for rolling out pasta sheets. And there's actually a method that I don't know, so I can't show it to you, where they actually will roll the dough out and cause it to flip, and it flips back. And that's what makes the dough roll. I don't have that skill set. I've not tried it to gain that skill set. But now that I'm thinking about it, we'll try that another time. But I wanted to show this to you. Do you need something like this? The reason it's so long is because if you were going to roll out this giant bit of dough in one shot, number one, I'd pass out. But you'd get a pasta sheet that's the size of the table. And that's very often what they get when they're rolling these out. There's a name for it in Italian, and I won't dare butcher it. If I can remember, I'll put it in the description below just so that we can have this trivia. But it rolls out. They put a tablecloth down and they have a huge piece of wood. And this is a piece of wood that they're given at marriage. And that wood they have the rest of their lives through their marriage for rolling out their pasta. And I think that's the most romantic thing in the world. Anyway, so I had to have one. I do have it. I haven't got that skill. I won't embarrass myself here today. I'll embarrass myself another time. This is a regular standard pin. I've had it forever. I love it. It's got a good weight. What you never want when you're dealing with a rolling pin, a super light pin seems like, well, maybe that'll be easier to handle. No, when you have a really light pin, that just means you have to do all of that extra work by pushing down. It's much harder to use. When you get a pin that's got a nice weight to it, much easier to use. I know that might be counterintuitive, but it's true. Now, what we're going to do, because we're not going to roll out this ginormous piece of dough in one shot, is we're going to cut it. So I'm going to set myself up here and I'll be right back. Okay, we'll move our more than likely unhealthy decor that I'm refusing to put out because I love it. Okay, we're going to divide. This is an entire batch of the recipe that I showed you. The recipe, of course, will be below. We're going to divide it in 4. Now we're going to take just the one that we're working with and we're going to wrap the others. It's very important that we not allow them to dry out. Okay, our sweet babies, put you there. Now we're going to grab our semolina flour. If you have troubles finding semolina flour in your local supermarket, it's easily gotten on Amazon. Okay. I started out, I don't just start rolling on something that's a big blob because it just makes it harder. And I don't want to work harder. I work hard enough. Now, I'm going to tell you right now in advance, I am going to have 47 hot flashes. That's just the way it's going to be. But that's life. We're going to roll, and what we're doing is we're making pasta sheets. I am purposely not making linguine or spaghetti or anything like that. Oh, we'll get to it. We're just going to roll. And it's very important that we make sure that our our dough is always moving. And the reason we use semolina is because it almost behaves like ball bearings. If you could feel it, it's not fine like flour. You know, flour is like a powder, you know, and it would stick to you and get all over. This stuff, it just feels like it rolls. I don't know if you can see that. It just leaves these trails because it really functions like little tiny ball bearings to keep our dough moving. What we're looking for, and then we flip it over. Make sure we're still moving, and we do the other side. But we want it to be as nice and thin. Now you're going to see me start to try to move towards a rectangle. There's a reason for that. Well, I think I already told you. What we're doing is we're making our pasta sheets because we're going to make homemade ravioli and homemade cannelloni, which are stuffed pastas. So I'm going to start to, I'm trying to move it into the shape that I need. And, you know, like a is not what I need. Because this pasta is so well rested, excuse me, see, it's already starting. Because this dough is so well rested, it's just, I mean, I can move it with my fingers. It's moving beautifully. I want, as much as I can, to move towards a rectangle. It's not going to be perfect, you can forget that. But what I started out with was a bit of a blob, which I'm going to fix with the next one. And you want to watch your edges because the edges will stay a little thicker. We don't want that. We want it even all the way across. And you see, now if I run my hands over, I can feel it's thick right here. Right from here to here is definitely thicker. I need to work on that. So I'm going to focus on that area. Okay. Now we're just about where we want to be thickness-wise. If it's too thin, when you're making something like ravioli, the filling could cause it to tear. So you want to find that perfect balance. Now, we're going to trim our sheets so we get exactly what we're looking for. This is perfect. But this is not the shape that I wanted. No problem. We are going to trim off what is not helpful, and you save it. You set it aside and let it dry. Those little pieces of trim, we cut them up and we toss them into a soup that becomes absolutely fabulous. And again, it's in Italian, but it's essentially called like the rags that are left over from trimming our pasta. So never throw that away. Okay, now that's still a good size. We can work with it. Okay. Okay, this is what we're going to use for our ravioli or our cannelloni. We're going to save our trimmings aside. I will lay them out to dry. So we're going to take this, it's beautiful, lay it right onto our our parchment paper that has been lined, our tray that has been lined with parchment paper, dusted with semolina flour, and we're going to let that start to air dry. We don't want it to dry out, but we're going to let it air dry a little bit. Now we start the next one. So now, important, the trimmings that we're going to save, there's some room on our sheet pan. Let's bring this over. There's room on our sheet pan. We're just going to lay this out. And we will cut this up later and we'll freeze it. What are you? I don't know, but you don't get to come to the party. Okay, and then we're going to take semolina again and be ready for our next. Set this aside. Move our semolina back to the middle. Oh, I use Sharpie when I wrote handmade. It doesn't necessarily stick. So it's on my parchment. That's fine. Okay, so to avoid, see, this is why I ended up with that weird shape, because I started out with a pie shape. That's not helpful. So I'm actually going to try to bring it back into more of a rectangle so that if we start in the shape that we want, it'll be easier to keep it that way. If that makes sense. I hope it does. Okay. And when we're using the pasta machine, I will not be sweating like this. But right now, at least according to YouTube, and I watch these videos where the old Italian nonnas are just sitting on the side of the street outside their homes, and they're rolling out fresh pasta and making all the different noodles. And they sell all this stuff handmade to restaurants that are nearby. And they are way older than I am, and they're rolling this stuff out without breaking a sweat. I have broken a sweat. If you'd all just be kind and pretend you don't see it, that would help a lot. I'm just trying to stay in my shape as much as I can. By doing that, I reduce the amount of scrap that I have. I say scrap, but I didn't say waste. Just about there. Okay. Oh. Whoa, somebody turned on the lights. Okay, so now it's important to do this for me because it makes assembly of our next step much easier. And now it just becomes like an assembly line. I'm going to continue to roll this out, and I'll try not to pass out, but I certainly won't pass out on video, though I will rat on myself, and if that should happen, I will tell you. I'm going to hit pause now so that I can get this done, and we won't spend the rest of our lives watching me sweat on camera. Our sheets are done. We've got paper in between each layer. We've got semolina on each layer of paper, and all of our trimmings are set aside. So I'm going to seal this, set it aside, and then we're going to set ourselves up for rolling out with the machine. Be right back. Okay, so now we're going to put some of our semolina into our machine. Now the reason the machine is so far back is because the dough is going to go in here, but it's going to come out this way. Okay? You have to be on number 1, which we are. We're going to press this down so it's just a little thinner here so it can catch. Okay. Now we fold it over 1 again, and we're going to put it in this way. Okay. Now we're going to dust it again. We don't want anything to cause any drag. And we're going to fold it over just the 1 more time. And then we'll start to lower our number and really stretch out our dough. Okay? We're going in this way again. It's got to come down just a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So this has been run through 3 times on 1. Look how thick it is. As we go through, we're going to continue to make this number higher. And the sheet is going to get bigger and bigger, smoother and smoother. Okay? We're not going to roll it over and over on itself anymore. We'll just do each one twice. Make sure that we're nicely dusted. There you go. Number 3. You'll see every time it goes through, it comes out a little longer. I do each one twice. Number 4. Number 5. Now what happens when it starts to get really long, it starts to be easier to cut it. So I'm going to cut this in half. Let's see where half is. You just pull it and fold it onto itself. It's got a lot of semolina on it, so it shouldn't stick. That just gives me my line, and I cut right there. That way, it's easier to handle. One more time on 5. Now we're starting to get nice and thin. More than likely, for what we're doing with our dough on Wednesday, 6 or 7 should be the right spot for us, but we'll find out right now. Let's feel this. Nope. One more time on 6. We're going to go to 7. 7 should be perfect for us. We want it to be thin enough to have a nice mouthfeel, but thick enough not to burst when we have fillings. Now you see I got some ruffles there. I don't want that. I'm running it through again, and those should disappear. And the very edges, those will be saved for that soup we were talking about. Okay, before we go ahead and continue to roll our dough, I'm putting lots of semolina on here so I can fold it up onto itself and not allow it to stick. And then we're going to do the same thing we did with the other. We're going to put it on a sheet pan, line it, and then cover it because we don't want to dry out. I'll be right back. Okay, everybody, we did it, and I survived it. In here, because we only have so much room in our fridges, right? What I have under here, I have the homemade, hand-rolled on the bottom few layers. I think it's 4 or 5 layers. Then I wrapped it completely with plastic. It's very, very important this be airtight. And I wrote handmade on there. And then I put on another 5 layers or whatever it is of the machine rolled. And then I covered, in between each layer is the parchment like I showed you. Lots of semolina flour to keep everything from sticking. And then this thing is wrapped. I mean, we could ship this. This is wrapped. So much work goes into this that we don't want to risk oxidation. I don't know if you've ever had perhaps pie dough or something like that that sat in your fridge for an extra day or so and it suddenly looked kind of gray. That's what happened. The fat oxidized when it was mixed in with your flour and it caused oxidation, which it tastes weird and it's this really unpleasant color and I don't want it, not after all this work. So what I'm going to do with this nice package that I'm going to write machine on, if I knew what don't worry, I have so many layers on here that same thing won't happen again. So this is the machine. Okay, and always just get into the habit of dating. Anything you put into your fridge, like if we were in restaurants, that's my background. I worked in restaurants my whole life. That's what I know. We date everything. We used to have day dots, things like that. You date everything. That way you never have to wonder, you do that thing where you see college kids where they find something in the back of the fridge and they sniff it and they try to decide if they're going to eat it. I'd rather die. So in order to avoid anything like that, I date everything. I keep a roll of masking tape and a Sharpie in the drawer. Nothing goes into our fridge, our freezers, everywhere. Everything is labeled and dated. It just saves money because you don't have that guessing of, oh, I don't know what this is, might as well throw it out. No, we're not doing that. And we can also rotate what we have. So we can rotate by date. So we can move things forward and make sure we're using everything at its peak, which is, that's what we're doing here. Okay, so this is going to go in the fridge. Now this could be frozen, but we're not freezing it because we are doing something so fun on Wednesday. So I've got this sealed. It'll be Wednesday when you see it. I'm doing it tomorrow. And we're having homemade ravioli and homemade cannelloni. And these are stuffed pastas, and there's such a variety of ways that you can do it. You can use that homemade tomato passata that we did. There's no end to it. You can make a wine sauce. You can make a butter sauce. I mean, there's just no end. I'll give you as many ideas as I can come up with then. But in the meantime, this is getting put in the fridge, nice and safe. Oh, and one more thing. Doughs, anything like this that's made of flour can really pick up smells. So if you've got something weird in your fridge, sauerkraut, fish, even though it's great fish, it's fresh, it's wonderful, fish does have its own smell. If it smells bad, throw it out. If it doesn't smell like you'd really want to eat it, get rid of it. Okay, that's just, fish and we're very picky. Anyway, so you want to make sure that you don't put anything in your fridge or have anything in your fridge that could be so strongly scented that the flour and our hard work would pick up that flavor. Other than that, off we go, and I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you so much for spending time with me. It means the world to me. I enjoy having like-minded friends. Like, I'm just not doing this stuff all alone anymore. And it makes me really happy. And I'm delighted to know you. Thank you so much. I'll see you on, this is airing on Sunday. I'll see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.